David Lee Roth has finally revealed the heartbreaking truth about what really ended Eddie Van Halen. Behind the legend, behind the music, and behind the genius was a story few ever knew. Until now. Stay with us, because what Roth just shared changes everything about how we remember one of rock's greatest icons. In a recent conversation, David Lee Roth shared his thoughts on the life and legacy of the late Eddie Van Halen, including what he thinks finally brought the renowned guitarist to an end. The frontman of Van Halen throughout the band's most famous years. Roth talked candidly about Eddie's hardships, his genius, and the tragic truth of what ended his incredible life. According to Roth, Eddie's tale was never straightforward. Although he was a musical prodigy whose guitar revolutionized rock, most fans were only dimly aware of the struggles he had in his personal life. According to Roth, Eddie Van Halen's death was not caused by a single incident. Rather, years of unrelenting hardships gradually weakened his body and soul. Greatness was a part of Eddie's journey, but so were suffering, sacrifice, and the high price of living life to the fullest. Eddie's fans were horrified to learn that he had been battling throat cancer for years, yet he continued to perform songs despite the news. He was adamant about continuing despite his sickness, frequently performing or recording while concealing the depth of his suffering. Roth noted that despite his deteriorating health, Eddie had an unquenchable desire to continue making music, performing, and living through it. Millions were motivated by this resolve, but it also cost the individual. Eddie lived and played on the edge, according to Roth. He put all of his energy into playing the guitar every time he took the stage. According to Roth, Eddie's unwavering zeal is what made him so iconic, but it also depleted him over time. He never slowed down in any way. He was not the type to put things off for later. Eddie lived in the present and gave his all until he had nothing more to offer. Additionally, according to Roth, Eddie's genius came with a sometimes overwhelming intensity. His thoughts were continuously searching for fresh guitar riffs, sounds, and modifications. By using methods like tapping, he transformed rock and produced a sound so distinctive that it became the new norm for future generations of artists. However, that same brilliance was bound by an erratic spirit that occasionally overcame him. According to Roth, Eddie's drive for excellence was motivating, but it also meant that he rarely gave himself the proper care. Fans may recall that Eddie's personal hardships were well publicized. Even though he conquered many challenges, his years of battle with addiction left scars. Eddie's body suffered far more than most people could comprehend due to a combination of health issues and the effects of decades of constant touring, writing, and performing. It was evident from Roth's thoughts that Eddie's demise involved more than just sickness. He spent a lifetime pushing his body and spirit beyond what most people could achieve. Roth stressed that despite these difficulties, Eddie remained the same person who could pick up a guitar and instantly work magic. He reminded people that Eddie could still have moments of genius that left everyone in awe, even when he was ill. Even as his body weakened, his genius remained unabated. That's part of what makes Eddie Van Halen so memorable. Roth added, "The world was rocked by Eddie Van Halen's death in 2020. The pioneer who radically changed the sound of rock music was also mourned by fans, in addition to the guitarist." According to Roth, Eddie was an innovator whose impact extended well beyond his band and went beyond simply being a performer. With hits like Jump and Panama, as well as the groundbreaking solo in Eruption, Eddie left a legacy that still motivates musicians today. Roth also discussed the complex relationship that developed between the two over the years. They created music that will never be forgotten during their time together as Van Halen, but they also had disagreements and conflicts. However, when considering Eddie's last years, Roth's remarks were replete with reverence. Regardless of their ups and downs, he made it plain that Eddie's talent was indisputable and that his influence on music history will never be surpassed. According to Roth, Eddie Van Halen's demise was not the result of a single tragedy, but rather the culmination of years of struggles with his health, personal issues, and the price of being one of the biggest rock stars of all time. Even while his fire was brighter than nearly everyone else's, it was ultimately unsustainable. According to Roth, Eddie's death was the tragic but unavoidable outcome of a life spent with unparalleled fervor. Nevertheless, Roth was careful to remind fans that Eddie's journey is characterized by his victories rather than his setbacks. Every time a guitar screams with the kind of unadulterated strength and emotion he brought to the world, his music endures. His distinctive technique, riffs, and solos have become ingrained in rock culture and will continue to do so for many years to come. The reflections of David Lee Roth are a lesson as well as a tribute. One man who devoted himself fully to his work was Eddie Van Halen. His brilliance made him a legend, but it also put more pressure on him than anyone could handle. According to Roth, Eddie's passing marked the end of a chapter, not just for one individual, but for music in general. Although his reputation guarantees that Eddie Van Halen will always be regarded as one of the greatest musicians of all time, his narrative serves as a reminder that brilliance frequently comes with a cost. Ultimately, Roth said it simply. In the end, Eddie's commitment to music defined and finally destroyed him. He lived for it and sacrificed everything for it. His impact endures forever, despite the fact that his life was spectacular and his sufferings were genuine. Even though Eddie Van Halen is no longer with us, his influence, music, and spirit will endure forever.